Hello, my friends. How are you? Thank you so much for stopping by. This is the Outstanding Life Show, and my name is Jason. And here we talk about mindfulness, we talk about recovery, we talk about addiction. These are some pretty mental health related topics, but it's something I'm passionate about. It's something that I've been through. It's something that I'm currently going through. I've been to rehab, and admitting I had a problem is one of the greatest things that I had ever done. There was this worry, there was this anxiousness. I had these overwhelming feelings of defeat, yet I didn't know how to approach it. And one of the things that I did was I started documenting the process. I started taking each step, and as I moved forward, it gave me the confidence. With each step I took, I was able to gain that confidence to push forward more and more. And as I got further along on this journey, I started developing this confidence and developing this reassurance, because there's this hesitation about, am I doing the right thing? Am I headed in the right direction? How do I know what way is up? How do I know when I get to the place I'm supposed to be? There's always those normal questions that spiral across my brain, but now these were questions, when you fuel that, when you layer that on top of addiction, and there's this alcoholic brain, there's this addict mind that, if left unchecked, like that'll run the show. And for so many years, I let that make decisions for me and drive me in the wrong, put my ego in the wrong position. And as a result, I floundered for quite some time. And when I started documenting the process, it started out as like a simple Facebook page, and I would post these positive words and these reaffirmations and these nice quotes, and they were always geared towards the recovery world. It was nothing that would cram down your throat or anything, but it was something that would spark that those healthy conversations, is what I would say. And that very quickly grew. And when it comes to recovery and addiction, these aspects of my life would become so fulfilled with, these thoughts of negativity. They're always spiraling around, yes, but when you don't have anything in there, when you don't have a healthy conversation or a safe place to have those conversations, pretty soon your brain will fill it with the most, I don't know about you, but my brain will run a mile a minute if left all by itself. So when it comes to addiction and mental health, the decision to reach out for help was always scary, because it was the fear of unknown. And so when I had the doubt of whether or not I was in the right direction or doing the right thing, I would end up questioning myself every step of the way. Earlier I shared, after making the decision to move forward, then those steps started piling up and making me feel better. But when I wasn't sure about where I was going, and I hadn't made the decision yet to reach out for help, those steps just caused me to doubt myself more and more and more, until I developed this lack of trust, this gap, this empty, hollow shell. And in my addiction, I felt that I wasn't trusting of other people. And I felt that the world was not out to get me, but I didn't have this sense of concrete belonging. And I didn't have this ability to, I didn't have this compassion for myself. I didn't have this belief that I was good and that I deserved good. And I would talk myself down. I would tell myself that I wasn't worthy of trust, and therefore I acted not trustworthy. Evil begets evil. Negativity breeds more negativity. And I wasn't surprised that my world just kept imploding on itself. It just started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. No fault of anyone else's but my own. I hid my addiction. I tell myself I hid it so well. And by well, I mean I just didn't bother talking about it, didn't tell anybody, and I just let it get worse and worse and worse. Nobody knew but me. And when it caused me to not think very much about about myself. I started treating my mind, my body, my mind, my soul, all of those things I treated poorly. And when, if I go out and I have a cheat meal, like if I have a cheat meal, it's not the deal breaker. Like, I'm allowed to have a cheat meal. Cheat meals are okay, they're fine. But it's when I have a cheat week or a cheat month or a cheat year, that's when it starts compounding. That's when you start seeing the negative, dramatic effects. And when I was in my addiction and treating my body, mind, and soul poorly, if I'm treating it poorly for a minute, that's not the end of the world. For an hour, okay, that has an impact. A day, okay, it's going to take a while to recover. When it goes any longer than that, that's where I'm letting my ego make decisions for me. I'm letting that drive the bus, and it's causing me, and I'm not justifying this. What I'm saying, though, is I would take advantage of the relationships around me. I was treating people poorly, and eventually the ripple effect was I was causing this disappointment, and it emanated outwards. There's this pain that would, it would not like a stabbing motion, but there was the addiction in my life, and then it reverberated out, and it was this sore, and at the center of that was me. At the center of that was what I was causing, and it's what I was doing. And I would condition myself to believe in this lack of trust. Like, out of habit, I would not trust other people, therefore I wouldn't trust myself. And I look back now and I'm like, that's the opposite way that I want to live. I don't want to live in a world where there's no trust. I don't want to live in I want to be in a world where people connect with each other, and I cannot do that if I myself am not connecting or connect worthy. I cannot relate to others if I'm not relatable. And if what I truly want is a place of being and to belong and to have this sense of giving, this gratitude, I need to be able to go and look beyond this shell that I'd created. That was the segue into what I now have as my recovery. The hard part about recovery, though, is until you know it, until you see it, feel it, touch it, breathe it, until you have it all on your own, until you can wrap your arms around it, you don't know what it is. And I could never see past what I didn't understand. And when I didn't understand recovery, and when it was just a foreign thought to me, I couldn't bring myself to cross that bridge. I couldn't bring myself to see past that facelessness, and anything other than what I had was faceless. And my addiction was holding on to me so tight that my ego was running amok, and it was pulling apart my thoughts and then causing me to be anxious and feel hypertensious. And I ended up not loving who I was. And it was a really low spot in my life. Like, it was a really challenging point. And I'm not saying this in a bragging sense. I'm just saying, this is where this sets the stage. Like, it doesn't get any lower than that bar. And the person that was setting that bar, the person that was causing it to be reinforced, was me. And once I got to that spot where I was open to the idea of sharing, but sharing, we talked previously in the past episodes about being open to conversation and having a safe place to talk. I wasn't even aware of that possibility, and yet I knew I wanted something different. I know that what I was currently doing wasn't satisfying. And when it's not satisfying, it's not something I want, I'm not going to have it in my life. And I didn't know how to get there, but that's when I started to reach out. That's when I decided, okay, enough is enough. You put your foot down, and then there's no more. And when I put my foot down, that's when I reached out for help. That's when I ended up saying, it sounds weird that you're going to make the decision to love yourself, but what I'm getting to is, when you get to a point, when I got so low, there was nowhere else to go, and I had no idea how to get there. That's when I asked for support beyond what I could do. and I admitted defeat. And once I got to that spot where I was open and willing to let things in, I was able to then let myself truly out. Up until that point, it was just this ball being wound up tighter and tighter and tighter. And there was nothing that was going to break through. There was nothing that was going to get through. I wasn't letting things in, and I wasn't letting myself out. I wasn't expressing who I was. And it was this lack of trust, because I was afraid of okay, what am I going to ruin today? I would wake up and not that I was looking forward to it, but I would tell myself that, if I touch something, it's going to fall apart. If I love someone, they're just going to run away. If I value something, it's just going to get taken away. So I use that as an excuse to not value anything, to not love anyone. And that included not even loving myself. I say that now, and it kind of shocks me to think that that's where I was at. But this is where my habit had groomed me into that groove where I wasn't at a safe place. I wasn't at a spot where I was going to let anything in. And once I got to that event crisis point, once I reached out for help, once I got to that spot where I no longer wanted to deal with this, I ended up saying, I needed, the only thing that can fill this void was this, well, the void itself, just circling back to that, was a spiritual void. In the book, they call it a spiritual void, the big book, and of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the only thing that can fill a spiritual void is spirit. And as much as I would want something else to fulfill it, like a relationship or an iPad or a new car or something, those things are never going to fill that void. No matter how many times I put cars or relationships in there, there's just going to be a gap. And that's where the only thing that fills that gap is going to be spirit. So I can't say I wasn't successful. I don't want to say that. But what I will say is I found ways to not succeed. I found what didn't work. And once I was able to sign on to the world of recovery, once I was on board and I was committed to it, when Tony Robbins would say, if you're motivated to do something, it will pull you forward. But when you're afraid of something happening, it will push you forward. And what moved me forward wasn't the same thing that was pushing me forward. What was pushing me forward was this fear of this life, of what I was going to create. It was this fear of what was going to happen if nothing changed. Once I got to the world of recovery, once I started going to the meetings, I started to appreciate of this amazing life, this outstanding life that was on the other side. There's more to this life. And it includes trust, it includes love, it includes gratitude, it includes me finding something bigger than my ego and believing in it and trusting in it and loving it. Once I got rid of this, I in the show notes I call it an ego-driven prison. That's not the right words to describe it, but the only person holding me captive was me. And the only person putting my ego in power was me. And as soon as I devalued that, once I reduced that value of that currency, and I started increasing the currency of gratitude, once I started trusting not just myself but other people, I started to create relationships that were built on more than just convenience. I was creating relationships and building them and establishing firmer bonds, stronger bonds that were more valuable and offered more support, encouragement. I didn't think any of this was possible when I first started out. I thought all of this was foreign. Again, I thought that there was nothing else on the other side, and that fear of the other side, the fear of the unknown, is what stopped me from moving forward. That's what made me think no one could possibly understand what I'm going through, so I'm just not going to talk about it. But in reality, that was the opposite of what I should have done. Had I known the supportive community was available, I would have jumped on much, much sooner. It would have saved me a lot of heartache and hassle. I look back now and I'm thankful. but I think it was needed. I think I look back and I appreciate the lessons that I've learned. I appreciate that I needed to take these what is it? They call them bumps on the chin. You take a hit on the chin because that's what was needed to wake me up. That's what was needed to get me to a spot where I was open and willing to get to not just push myself away from what I didn't want, but to pull me towards what I decided I did want. And having the courage, and then trusting in myself that I'm making the right decision. That took a lot. But the trust didn't come overnight. Like the relationships aren't built overnight either. And that for me was kind of new. That's where being outside your element is one thing. Expanding your comfort zone to a whole third dimension. If all we live is in this single dimension, and if the world is a two-dimensional place and then recovery expands my world to a third dimension, seeing beyond what I have as my limits was a very struggle for me. It was a very challenging struggle for me. And it caused me to want to push outside my comfort zone, but I had to have trust. And that's something I didn't have in the beginning. Now that I've been clean and sober, going on 6 years now, I've got that reassurance. I've got that belief and the trust in me that I've made the right decision. And for the longest time, I was even afraid of doing this, like this show. I was super anxious, and I was like, well, what if nothing happens? What if it doesn't mean anything to anyone? What if it doesn't connect with anyone? What if what I'm doing doesn't matter? The ultimate fear, I just tell myself these things because I know myself and I know how to get inside my head and I know how to wind myself up. That's the ego running that bus there. And I'm reminded constantly because you, my audience, will send me messages. Like I have it set so I can deliver this message to you by Facebook, by YouTube, by Instagram, however you want. You want to read it in the blog? I got a blog for you. But I get messages every week from my audience letting me know that this message really connected with you. And I'm blown away by that. It's not just that you say thanks, it's you put a heartfelt message into that, and that it really truly means a lot to me. It reaffirms that I'm in the right direction, I'm doing the right thing. And even if this makes a difference for one person, maybe that one person will turn things around. I'm not here to convince you to do something. I'm not here to convince you not to do something. What I wanted this show to mean and feel is I wanted this to be a tool for someone who's already made the decision that they want to live in an outstanding life, that they want this. And I just want to be here to let you know that it is possible. And it includes trust, it includes love, and a fulfilling life is available to you. Not that it's not going to be hard. There is a lot of heavy lifting involved. It's not going to happen overnight. But the one thing we do have is time. So, just for today, I'm going to be thankful. Just for today, I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust others. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to believe in others. I'm going to believe in myself. But I wanted to start out by saying thank you. I wanted to wrap this up by letting you know I appreciate you. This has been a long time in the making, and I'm having a lot of fun with this. In each one of these shows, I wanted to have something called an action of the day, but I also wanted to have a gratitude of the day. So here we have the blog, and I've got today's gratitude of the day is I'm thankful for my relationships today because they're built on a foundation of trust, and what must last forever will take just as long to build. When it comes to action of the day, today's action is I'm going to celebrate today because thanks to my recovery, I am trustworthy. Trustworthy for me is huge. I can't believe I made it this far without trust, but now that I have it, now that it's a part of my everyday life, now I can't imagine a world without it. But in the meantime, thanks again for hanging out. I really appreciate it. You guys mean a lot to me. All your kind words. I wanted to try something new here. I'm going to try show you my social feed This one here is my Instagram. This is one of I put 1-minute videos on Instagram. YouTube and Facebook, I have the long 10, 20-minute versions like this one. And I put the show notes in the comments. So if you want to go check it out, let me know. Put the hearts, put the stars, put the likes. I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I hope you are enjoying it too. I wanted to say thank you. I look forward to seeing you in another video. In the meantime, I want you to take care and have fun. All right, everyone. Take care. Bye.